안녕하세요.
교수님 안녕하십니까? 교수님 지금 음소거 돼 있으세요?
그렇구나.
아,
그래요,
네.
안녕하세요. 네,
네.
안녕하세요. 박연지 씨는 어디 있어요? 서울은 무척 춥습니다, 지금. Hace mucho frío aquí en Seúl. Hoy en la mañana bajó hasta menos 12 grados centígrados. 영하 12도까지 내려갔습니다. 12월 1일.
Bueno. Bueno, yo creo que ya está empezando la transmisión en vivo, entonces vamos a empezar nuestro seminario.
Recording in progress.
Bueno, buenas noches, buenas tardes y buenos días, las personas de Corea. Bienvenidos a todos participantes para el Seminario 2022, Corea Bolivia, Cooperación para el Futuro. Soy Min Ji-son, funcionaria encargada de asuntos políticos y económicos. Este evento se ha organizado por la Embajada de la República de Corea en el Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia. En este seminario virtual se van a tratar con los expertos económicos sobre la historia y experiencia del desarrollo económico entre ambos países y sobre el litio, una de las materiales más importantes en Bolivia, también en el mundo. La primera sesión se va a llevar a cabo en español y la segunda en inglés. Además, en cuanto termine cada sesión, si alguien tiene preguntas, puede levantar la mano a través de la función Zoom. Y también este seminario virtual está transmitido en vivo por nuestro canal de YouTube y Facebook. Bueno, antes de empezar, invitamos al excelentísimo embajador de la República de Corea, Kim Gi-hoon, para dar las palabras de la bienvenida. 지금부터 김기홍 대사님 축사 읽겠습니다.
Distinguidos académicos, empresarios y expositores coreanos y bolivianos, participantes todos, buenas noches, 안녕하십니까. Primero, quisiera expresar mi más profundo agradecimiento a todos los participantes el día de hoy en este seminario, en especial a los expositores coreanos y bolivianos por su valioso tiempo y por compartir su conocimiento para contribuir a un mejor entendimiento de nuestros países. Desde el establecimiento de relaciones diplomáticas entre Corea y Bolivia en el 1965, mi gobierno ha enfatizado la importancia de fortalecer las relaciones bilaterales y mejorar la cooperación y el entendimiento mutuo entre nuestros países. En este marco, desde el 2010, el gobierno de Corea ha designado a Bolivia como un socio prioritario de cooperación para el desarrollo. A través de COICA se llevó adelante varios importantes proyectos como el establecimiento del Centro Nacional de Innovación de la Papa en Cochabamba, la construcción de hospitales en el Alto y Oruro, la construcción del puente más largo de Bolivia, el Banegas, y también cooperación con enfoque en áreas como la agricultura, salud y género. Podría seguir con una lista extensa de cada proyecto que Corea ha realizado en Bolivia, pero el tiempo no le permitirá. Sin embargo, puedo asegurar que el gobierno de Corea continuará trabajando juntamente con el gobierno de Bolivia para mejorar la vida del pueblo boliviano. Pero también deseo aprovechar este momento para referirme al intercambio cultural. Es para mí motivo de gran alegría ver cómo cada año la pasión por la cultura coreana crece. Los K-dramas, las películas, y la gastronomía coreana cada vez tienen más fanáticos en Bolivia. Sin embargo, la fama del K-pop ha sobrepasado todas mis expectativas y espero continúe creciendo por muchos años más. Por eso, la Embajada de Corea en Bolivia está trabajando arduamente para profundizar la amistad, la cooperación y el entendimiento entre ambos países, llevando a cabo varias actividades culturales, como festivales de música K-pop, conciertos de música clásica, noches de cine coreano, competencias de taekwondo y también promoviendo la gastronomía de Corea, pero aún queda mucho por hacer. Damas y caballeros, el 2025 Corea y Bolivia cumplirán 60 años de relaciones bilaterales y en este marco, el seminario de hoy tiene el propósito de profundizar la comprensión de nuestros países. Para ello, en nuestra primera sesión, revisaremos un poco el pasado, veremos el presente y con ello podremos explorar maneras de profundizar la cooperación entre Corea y Bolivia mirando hacia el futuro. En la segunda sesión se tratará el tema del litio. Para esto, escucharemos sobre la estrategia de industrialización del litio en Bolivia y los retos de dicha industrialización. Es importante resaltar que el litio es un componente esencial de baterías que hoy en día está en el centro de la transición energética. Y América Latina posee el 60% de los recursos de litio en el mundo. Estos se encuentran principalmente en Bolivia, Argentina y Chile, el denominado triángulo del litio. Siendo la República de Corea uno de los países líderes de la industria de baterías y vehículos eléctricos. Es de gran importancia para nosotros tener una mejor comprensión sobre la forma en la que nuestro hermano país, Bolivia, plantea el desarrollo del litio para su futuro. Estoy seguro de que este seminario será de gran ayuda para acercarnos y comprender más uno del otro y juntos podamos mirar a un futuro lleno de optimismo. Muchas gracias. 감사합니다.
Muchísimas gracias, señor embajador Kim Ki-hong. 김기용 대사님 감사합니다. Ahora les voy a presentar los expositores que participan en el seminario. Primero, Dr. Won-ho Kim, profesor de Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Segundo, Dr. Napoleón Pacheco Torrico, profesor de la Universidad Mayor San Andrés. Y para la última presentación de la primera sesión, invitamos ingeniero Steven Magariño Terrazas, jefe de la Unidad de Estudios y Especialistas en Mercados del Instituto Boliviano de Comercio Exterior. Para la segunda sesión, tenemos señor Rudy Fernando Medina Coque, de Yacimientos de Litio Bolivianos, YLB, señor Mauricio Medinaceli Monroy, especialista en energía, gas natural y petróleo. Y por último, invitamos doctor Juan Carlos Zuleta, analista de la economía del litio. Bueno, primera sesión se trata sobre la historia y retos del desarrollo económico de Corea y Bolivia. Dr. Won-ho Kim, Dr. Napoleón Pacheco Torrico e ingeniero Steven Magariño Terrazas van a dar la presentación. Primeramente, va a presentar Dr. Won-ho Kim, profesor de Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Invitamos, profesor Kim.
Okay. Buenas tardes. Muchas felicidades en este evento muy importante y agradezco por invitarme a presentar en este evento. Señor embajador y señoras y señores, primero yo voy a compartir mi presentación. Bien. Ya está bien, ¿no? Tengo entendido que yo voy a usar más o menos 20 minutos y primero voy a explicar el modelo coreano del desarrollo económico para las primeras 12 o 13 minutos y luego voy a tocar el tema de las relaciones bilaterales, algunas implicaciones para las relaciones entre los dos países por 7 o 8 minutos. ¿Sí? Primero, ¿por qué nosotros hablamos de Corea del Sur? Para darles una imagen del desarrollo económico, muy brevemente explico. Esta imagen es después de la Guerra Coreana, 1953. Es el centro de Seúl, es el edificio alcalde de la ciudad de Seúl. Es la foto de hoy, gran cambio, ¿no? Mismo edificio del ayuntamiento de la ciudad de Seúl. También esa foto describe una imagen del centro de Seúl cuando hubo mucha lluvia, hubo derrame afectando casas y sector popular. El mismo lugar, en el centro de Seúl, el mismo pequeño río que se llama Cheonggyecheon, en el centro de Seúl. También podrán ustedes tener alguna imagen de gran transformación. Es la imagen de la zona rural en la década de los 50 y 60. No hay árboles, ¿no? Porque la gente cortó los árboles para usar para combustible, ¿no? Es la imagen de la zona rural hoy. Hubo gran forestación, promovimiento de forestación. ¡Qué gran cambio! En resumen, hoy día Corea del Sur llegó, por ejemplo, según los datos de FMI, el año 2020 y 2021, el tamaño económico de Corea del Sur llegó al 10º lugar del mundo. Y hoy en día, por la pérdida de valor de la moneda won, ahora queda 13º lugar del mundo. De todos modos, ustedes podrán comparar PIB per cápita de hoy, $35,000, se compara con $158 en 1960. Y también hubo gran, drástica transformación de la estructura industrial. Hoy en día en Corea, por ejemplo, las industrias primarias, agricultura, pesquería, ese sector primario toma menos de 4% de la economía coreana. Se compara con más o menos 50% en 1953, ¿no? En vez de eso, en el sector, en la composición de las exportaciones, ¿no? Y en la exportación hoy día 90% toma la industria pesada y química. Y también Corea del Sur se transformó desde el estatus de recipiente a donante. Es el único país después de Segunda Guerra Mundial, de acuerdo con los datos de OCDE. Y también hoy día Corea del Sur es el miembro de TAC, Comité de Ayuda para el Desarrollo. Y según el aviso de Bloomberg, Corea del Sur toma primer lugar del mundo en términos de innovación. Es el dato octubre del año pasado. Corea tomó 10º lugar del mundo en el tamaño económico. Y octubre este año, según el dato de FMI, 13º, como ya expliqué, por la pérdida del valor de la moneda coreana. Como expliqué, esto es participación en la economía. El sector primario hoy día toma menos de 4%. Y en las exportaciones, esa zona es de la industria pesada y química. Más de 90% hoy día toman las industrias pesada y química. Y la agricultura o pesquería, ese sector primario, toma menos de 3% más o menos en las exportaciones. Por eso explica gran transformación de la economía coreana. Y esto muestra, la imagen de la izquierda muestra el flujo de la ayuda internacional hacia adentro, a Corea del Sur, y la imagen de la derecha muestra el flujo de la ayuda internacional desde Corea del Sur hacia el mundo, hacia el resto del mundo. Pero quiere decir, hasta más o menos la década de los 80, llegó en Corea decreciendo, y luego a partir de las finales de la década de los 80, empezó a crecer esa ayuda internacional desde Corea hacia el resto del mundo, muy drásticamente, rápidamente crece. Por eso muestra la transformación de la economía coreana, ¿no? Y recién 8 años, excepto un año, Bloomberg anunció el ranking en términos de innovación. Corea del Sur siempre tomó el primer lugar del mundo. Hoy yo voy a mencionar algo sobre la relación entre el Estado y el mercado, pero podrán ustedes, yo tengo solo 20 minutos, ¿no? Por eso yo voy a introducir un trabajo mío publicado en Nueva Sociedad, en inglés, también en español. Podrán ustedes buscar cuando tengan interés a leer ese artículo, ese trabajo mío, con el título Estado versus Mercado en América Latina, una perspectiva a partir de las experiencias de Asia del Este. En breve, el modelo coreano explico. Después de la liberación del Imperio japonés en 1945, el modelo coreano fue importado, ¿no?, por las fuerzas armadas de Estados Unidos. Por eso yo diría que el capitalismo en Corea fue importado. Pero después el gobierno coreano llevó a cabo un modelo, su propio modelo de desarrollo. Por eso, en un sentido, y académicamente podríamos distinguir el modelo entre modelo Estado desarrollista, en inglés Developmental State, Estado desarrollista, también neoliberal. Básicamente, yo podría decir, en muchas otras partes del mundo, tienden a distinguir estos dos modelos separadamente, pero en el caso de Corea del Sur, fue un modelo de fusión. Yo quiero decir, por ejemplo, la rectoría del Estado siempre quedó presente en el modelo coreano, y también, mientras el modelo fue impulsado por el Estado, hubo importante colaboración por el sector privado nacional. En ese sentido, yo leyendo la historia de Bolivia, por ejemplo, característicamente, Bolivia tuvo un modelo bastante típico entre diferentes países de América del Sur con la rectoría del Estado. Y siempre por alguna época hubo liderazgo del sector privado nacional, ¿no? En ese sentido puede haber semejanzas, similitudes entre los dos modelos. Pero en el caso de Corea del Sur, primero el Estado lideró y hubo colaboración por el Estado, por el sector privado nacional. Y al mismo tiempo, en Corea del Sur, el gobierno siempre quería apoyar directamente o indirectamente a las iniciativas del sector privado, especialmente en las industrias y también en la zona rural, campo. En ese sentido, yo leyendo las noticias saliendo de Bolivia, hoy día el actual gobierno de Bolivia promueve el modelo llamado modelo económico social comunitario productivo. Yo quisiera interpretar ese modelo en ese sentido. El gobierno, en el caso de Corea del Sur, por ejemplo, apoyo directo o indirecto a las industrias y al campo. Por eso puede haber académicamente gran interés de comparar y analizar los desempeños y las metas de diferentes modelos de Corea del Sur y de Bolivia. En el caso de Corea del Sur, cuando hablamos de rectoría del Estado o autonomía del Estado, fue importante, el Estado fue capacitado, ¿no? Cuando el Estado lidera, eso será una condición muy importante, el Estado debe ser capacitado. No solamente fuerte o no solamente autoritarismo burocrático, capacitación del Estado debe ser una condición muy importante. También una importancia es, Corea del Sur también tuvo una época que el gobierno promovió un modelo de ISI, industrialización de sustitución de importación, pero al mismo tiempo, al lado de ISI, siempre hubo otra estrategia importante que se llama sustitución de exportes. Eso quiere decir, siempre quería buscar nuevos sectores o nuevo rubro para mejorar o mantener la competitividad internacional en la exportación. Por eso siempre quería buscar ventaja comparativa dinámicamente, reemplazando los exportes principales. El gobierno seleccionó algunas industrias como líderes, manteniendo el efecto de encadenamiento. Eso quiere decir, siempre necesitó alguna relación de encadenamiento entre diferentes sectores, diferentes industrias. Por eso pudo llevar a cabo algún modelo de crecimiento endógeno. Siempre hizo gran énfasis en exportación y también gran énfasis en capital humano. Yo voy a explicar muy breve. Y también hubo gran coordinación entre diferentes áreas de políticas. Política industrial, política comercial, política educativa, política de ciencia y tecnología e innovación. Siempre hubo gran interacción entre diferentes áreas. Ok, no es la universidad hoy, no es la clase, pero muy brevemente hay varias intenciones de explicar el logro de la economía coreana teóricamente, ¿no? Yo voy a presentar dos teorías. Una teoría del profesor Alexander Gerschenkron de la Universidad Harvard. Entre diferentes teorías, yo creo que su teoría explica muy bien el modelo coreano. Él explicó, puede haber diferentes estrategias en el mundo entre diferentes gobiernos Y él enfatizó, cada país puede tener diferentes características de desarrollo. Especialmente los países en vías de desarrollo podrán aprender desde las experiencias de otras y luego ellos pueden aplicar su propia creatividad social cultural. Eso él llamó sustituto de desarrollo. En el caso de Corea del Sur, Corea también aplicó su característica, su creatividad sociocultural para finalmente lograr su modelo. No tenemos tiempo mucho, voy a pasar, pero voy a dejar este archivo a la embajada. Cuando usted necesita, podrán pedir este archivo. Segunda teoría, quiero decir, es de teoría de capital humano, y hubo varios economistas de premio Nobel en economía. Ellos enfatizaron el capital humano, ¿no? Y especialmente la importancia quedó en, primero, educación y luego investigación y desarrollo. En el modelo de Corea del Sur, la teoría de crecimiento endógeno, esa teoría fue manifestado en el caso de Corea del Sur a través de la inversión en investigación y desarrollo. Explico aquí, por ejemplo, primero en el sector de educación, por ejemplo, después de la liberación del Imperio japonés, el nivel de alfabetización fue muy bajo, ¿no? El nivel muy bajo, según diferentes datos. De todos modos, media de la población no pudo leer, y llegando, por ejemplo, hasta 1980, casi 100% de alfabetización. Y al otro lado, hubo medidas de reforma agraria. En el caso de Corea del Sur, desde 1949 hasta 54, hubo reforma de tierra. Esa reforma tierra finalmente contribuyó a más igualdad de la población coreana. Eso justamente contribuyó gravemente a la educación universal en Corea del Sur. En ese punto, yo también quiero dar la atención de las prácticas de reforma de tierra de Bolivia, ¿no? Entre diferentes países de Sudamérica, Bolivia relativamente fue un caso relativamente exitoso, ¿no? En ese sentido, Bolivia también tendrá gran potencial de aprovechar el logro de la reforma de tierra para llegar a algún nivel de capital humano. Y también, al otro lado, aquí yo tengo título Catch Up y Leapfrogging. Catch Up quiere decir ponerse al día a nivel de logros de otros países. Leapfrogging, salto de lana. Eso quiere decir invirtiendo en ciencia y tecnología puede llegar a algún nivel más adelante, ¿no? En ese sentido, el sector privado coreano fue impulsado, fue incentivado a invertir en investigación y desarrollo en la década de los 80 o a partir de la década de los 80, y hoy día más del 70% en investigación y desarrollo, inversión en desarrollo, se lleva a cabo por parte del sector privado. En muchos casos de los países en vías de desarrollo, 70% de inversión en investigación y desarrollo viene del Estado, no del sector privado. Por eso el Estado necesita, de alguna manera, alguna estrategia para incentivar o estimular o empujar al sector privado para que invirtiera en investigación y desarrollo. A través de toda esa estrategia, finalmente, Corea del Sur, por ejemplo, desde menos de 1% de la inversión en investigación, pasando en el transcurso de la década de los 80, pasó ese punto de referencia, 1%, y luego pasando 2%, hoy día llega 4,82% del total PIB. La inversión en investigación y desarrollo, hoy en día Corea toma segundo lugar del mundo. Un año solo, 2014, tomó el primer lugar, sobrepasando Israel. Hoy día siempre toma el primer lugar Israel. Aquí muestro primero es el logro de la educación, por ejemplo, comparando dos generaciones, generación de entre esa edad, 25-34, y la generación vieja de edad 55 hasta 64. Eso quiere decir generación vieja y generación nueva, generación joven. Aquí, Corea del Sur, eso quiere decir hay brecha entre dos generaciones. La nueva generación toma 70% en términos de educación terciaria. Eso quiere decir egresados. Más del 70% gradúan de la universidad, ¿no? Antes más o menos 23-24%, pues hay gran brecha. Entre esos países principales del mundo, esa brecha es más grande en el caso de Corea del Sur. Eso también muestra la gran transformación de la sociedad coreana. A través de todo eso, el nivel de desigualdad de ingreso en términos de Gini, aquí Corea del Sur toma un lugar bastante bajo. A ver, Corea del Sur, aquí está, Corea del Sur, aquí está, ¿no? Ese marco, yo manejando esa ficha, ¿no?, que movió aquí Corea del Sur. Y como expliqué, en términos de inversión en investigación y desarrollo, pasando ese punto de referencia de UNESCO en la década de los 80, hoy día creció esa inversión muy rápidamente. Una comparación, esto es inversión por parte del sector privado y está amarillo por parte del Estado. Por eso ya pasó la inversión del sector privado, el nivel de la inversión por el sector del Estado, ¿no? Aquí también muestra sobrepasando el sector privado y el sector Estado. Eso quiere decir, como ya expliqué, el Estado debe incentivar, debe empujar o estimular al sector privado para que invierten en investigación y desarrollo. Es una condición muy importante. Es un Bloomberg de nivel de innovación, Corea del Sur, comparando con otros países. Hoy en día, yo diría que tenemos gran desafíos y retos, y Bolivia y Corea del Sur comparten. Sin necesidad de explicación, después de la crisis financiera, el conflicto comercial entre Estados Unidos y China, pandemia o guerra de Ucrania, hoy día nosotros sufrimos interrupción de cadena de suministro y también hay nueva tendencia de reshoring o nearshoring, especialmente por parte de Estados Unidos. Y hoy día nosotros vemos una nueva tendencia de desglobalización, empujando el sentido de geografía. Por eso geoeconomía o geopolítica toma la dictación en este mundo. Por eso hoy día todos los países del mundo comparten esos retos. Uno, transición de economía, como respuesta al cambio climático, por eso necesita explorar nuevos fuentes de energía renovables, etcétera, etcétera. También se enfrenta nuevo reto de digitalización y desglobalización. Por eso, hoy día yo veo, en el caso de Bolivia, por ejemplo, la agenda principal es, primero necesita reactivación desde el efecto de COVID, de la pandemia, y al mismo tiempo necesita inversión, muy importante. Cada país tendrá ese tipo de retos, ¿no? Primero, inversión en infraestructura y segundo, inversión en industrias con alto valor agregado y tercero, una inversión en esos retos de cambio climático. Yo interpretaría entre diferentes políticas de Bolivia de hoy, por ejemplo, el gobierno actual de Bolivia quiere enfatizar en la industria de fertilizantes, NPK o litio, industria del litio, industrialización basada en ese recurso natural y también diésel limpio. Yo interpretaría como respuesta de esos retos, ¿no? Y también competitividad internacional es muy importante. Se necesita acumular más conocimiento y necesita inversión en ciencia, tecnología e innovación y necesita más alta productividad y digitalización y especialmente en el comercio. Todo eso deben ser agenda actual de Bolivia, retos para Bolivia. Entonces, Corea del Sur y Bolivia podrían cooperar mutuamente para la ventaja competitiva para Corea del Sur y también para Bolivia. Número uno, podríamos los dos países llevar a cabo una estrategia de ganador. Como ya saben muy bien, Corea del Sur no puede sobrevivir sin comercio internacional y sin importar importantes estratégicos recursos naturales. Por eso, para eso se necesita asegurarse de la cadena de suministro y para eso Corea del Sur podrían cooperar con Bolivia, primero en el sector de inversión, en el tema de inversión en la infraestructura para la agricultura de alimentos, para explorar más potencial de producción y también para explorar industrialización de recursos naturales y también para llevar a cabo más alta productividad y eficiencia en tecnología y también en innovación proambiental. Todo eso podrían llevar a cabo todas esas medidas para más alta competitividad nacional y buscando, encontrando nuevo motor de crecimiento a través de innovación por la tecnología digital, a través de medio ambiente ecológico y también a través del logro de salud pública y biotecnología. Básicamente es mi importantes puntos de presentación. Mucho gusto, muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, profesor Won Kim. Bueno, gracias por su presentación tratando sobre el modelo económico que se había desarrollado en Corea y también tratando esfuerzos mutuos para la cooperación futura. Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, continuamente invitamos al doctor Napoleón Pacheco Torrico, profesor de la Universidad Mayor San Andrés. Va a dar la presentación.
Buenas noches. Sí, déjenme empezar a compartir la pantalla. Bien, evaluación del modelo económico del movimiento hacia el socialismo, el MAS, y de la política económica en lo que yo denomino neoestatismo entre el 2006 y el año 2021. El contenido de esta exposición está dividido en dos partes. En la primera voy a abordar el contenido y el origen del modelo económico del movimiento hacia el socialismo. Y en la segunda examinaré el impacto económico de este modelo entre el 2006 y el año 2021. Es importante, a manera de introducción, señalar que el 22 de enero del 2006, Evo Morales, expresidente de la República de Bolivia, asumió la presidencia precisamente luego de un proceso de aguda inestabilidad política, impulsado en gran medida por las acciones que él mismo desencadenaba. Entre el 2002 y el 2005 pasaron por el Palacio de Gobierno 3 presidentes y Evo Morales llegó a la presidencia mediante elecciones. Su discurso político claramente cuestionaba el modelo neoliberal, al que le endilgaba todos los males y problemas del país que mágicamente él solucionaría hasta convertir en poco tiempo a Bolivia en Suiza, ¿no? Esas declaraciones están registradas en la prensa nacional. De ese modo, a partir de 2006, comenzó a desplegarse el denominado proceso de cambio. Dicho proceso tiene facetas políticas, sociales y económicas, pero en esta oportunidad abordaré el examen de los aspectos económicos relevantes. Bien, empiezo con el origen y el contenido del modelo económico del MAS. El contenido del modelo está en este libro, publicado por el presidente Arce cuando era ministro de Hacienda, un libro que titula precisamente El modelo económico, social, comunitario, productivo boliviano, cuya primera edición es de 2015, ¿no? Este modelo ciertamente es la parte culminante del programa de gobierno presentado por el MAS en las elecciones de 2005 y del Plan Nacional de Desarrollo que cubría el periodo 2006-2011. Este modelo es caracterizado como un modelo de transición, y estas son palabras textuales del autor, el ahora presidente Arce, entre el viejo sistema capitalista y la nueva sociedad socialista y con sello boliviano. El modelo, en la parte teórica global, identifica una crisis estructural del capitalismo, entendiendo que esa crisis estructural es una crisis multidimensional porque nos habla de una crisis financiera, una crisis climática, otra energética, alimentaria, hídrica, de políticas macroeconómicas e institucionales. Es importante anotar que esta visión global de las diferentes dimensiones de la supuesta crisis estructural del capitalismo corresponde a planteamientos desarrollados por economistas marxistas conocidos mundialmente, como por ejemplo Samir Amin, para no dar más nombres. En el escenario de esas crisis que expresan la crisis estructural del capitalismo, precisamente se plantea el modelo económico, social, comunitario, productivo boliviano. ¿Cuáles son las bases y principios de este modelo? La producción y el crecimiento y desarrollo de la economía en base al aprovechamiento de los recursos naturales que generan excedentes económicos. Por otra parte, sostiene que el Estado se apropia del excedente. Para ello, los medios de producción de los sectores económicos, hidrocarburos, minería, electricidad, tienen que ser de propiedad del Estado. Este proceso, sostiene, permitirá modificar el modelo primario exportador, porque lo que se busca es liberar a Bolivia de la dependencia de la exportación de materias primas y construir una Bolivia industrial y productiva. El Estado se apropia del excedente, sostiene, para su redistribución, para la industrialización y resolución de los conflictos sociales. Esto fortalece, afirma, la demanda agregada interna. El objetivo es eliminar la pobreza y reducir las desigualdades sociales. Y este es el esquema del modelo económico, social, comunitario, productivo boliviano. Se considera en la parte central, en este rectángulo, ¿no es cierto?, el rol del Estado que debe redistribuir ingresos, ¿no?, y encaminar acciones para la reducción de la pobreza. Los sectores estratégicos están en el rectángulo de la izquierda, son los sectores que generan excedente, por eso son sectores estratégicos, y son hidrocarburos, minería y electricidad, ¿no? Esos excedentes generados por los tres sectores se transfieren al Estado, y el Estado, ¿no?, el Estado con esos recursos va a financiar transferencias condicionales bajo la forma de bonos, subvenciones cruzadas y políticas sociales. Y asimismo, esos recursos se van a transferir, ¿no?, a sectores generadores de ingreso y empleo, que son la industria y artesanía, el turismo, el sector agropecuario, la vivienda, el comercio y servicios. De modo que es en este ámbito, en este rectángulo de la extrema derecha, donde está planteada implícitamente la industrialización, que debe ser financiada con los excedentes que generan hidrocarburos, minería y electricidad, excedente captado por el Estado, que a su vez lo va a distribuir en el área social y para financiar la industrialización. Este esquema indudablemente es la síntesis de la concepción del modelo económico social comunitario. Veamos ahora cuál es la evaluación que se puede hacer de este modelo. Primero, es importante señalar que este modelo económico social productivo boliviano evidentemente no tiene nada de original, simplemente es un mix de viejas propuestas de la CEPAL de las décadas de los años 60, 70 y de la propuesta renovada de 1990. También se basa en los planteamientos de la estrategia socioeconómica de desarrollo nacional para el periodo 1971-1991, que se elaboró y publicó en 1970. Ahora, en los diferentes documentos oficiales y en el libro de Luis Arce, no existe ninguna referencia a las fuentes anteriores, de manera tal que está claro que se pretende mostrar un modelo como genuinamente boliviano o un modelo con sello boliviano. Y claramente en relación a la supuesta originalidad del modelo del MAS, Luis Arce declaró el 10 de febrero del año 2020 que en relación a su modelo, hemos hecho nuestro modelo con nuestras ideas. Sostiene también que nosotros hemos hecho nuestro propio modelo con nuestro propio pensamiento, con nuestras propias ideas, que las plasmamos para que este modelo dé beneficios a los bolivianos y lo más importante, lo hemos logrado y hemos demostrado que lo podemos hacer, ¿no? En consecuencia, como no existe nada nuevo y el modelo económico, social, comunitario, etcétera, reproduce concepciones anteriores, porque así lo muestra la evidencia teórica e histórica, la caracterización más adecuada es llamar a este modelo como neoestatismo. ¿Por qué como neoestatismo? Sabemos que el neoestatismo, por el prefijo neo, significa un nuevo estatismo. ¿Hubo antes otro estatismo en Bolivia? Por supuesto, ¿no? Hubo un proceso de construcción estatista de la economía, principalmente a partir de los años 50, pero que fue cobrando impulso ya en la década de 1940. Ese modelo estatista, que también se puede llamar capitalismo de Estado, ¿no? Estuvo vigente entre las décadas de 1950, 60, hasta 1970, hasta la década de 1970, pero ya los últimos años de la década de 1970, de la década de los años 70, empezó a agotarse. Y es ahí donde se generan, ¿no?, los fundamentos, los factores que van a determinar una crisis estructural de la economía boliviana en la primera mitad de los años 80, que precisamente va a estar caracterizada por una depresión prolongada y persistente del nivel de actividad económica, por una parte, y por otra parte, por un nivel hiperinflacionario, una hiperinflación muy fuerte, siendo Bolivia el primer caso de una hiperinflación hasta ese momento no causada por efectos bélicos como había acontecido hasta ese momento. Entonces, a partir de las medidas que se aplicaron a fines de 1985, medidas orientadas a estabilizar la economía y a generar las bases de un nuevo modelo económico que se denominó como modelo económico neoliberal, ¿no es cierto? Esa modalidad estuvo vigente aproximadamente desde 1985 hasta el año 2005, casi 20 años de vigencia de ese modelo, ¿no? De modo que todos los elementos que hemos visto, ¿no es cierto?, en términos de la caracterización del modelo económico social productivo boliviano, no son más que elementos que ya estaban vigentes entre 1950 y fines de la década de 1970. Entonces no hay nada nuevo. La misma concepción del modelo, ¿no es cierto?, he mostrado cuál es el origen, está presente. Por eso es que yo le llamo a este modelo, ¿no es cierto?, como modelo neoestatista. Es un nuevo estatismo, con otros actores sociales, con otros actores políticos, ¿no? Pero en esencia es el mismo modelo estatista. Bien, veamos ahora la segunda parte, donde nos preguntamos si el modelo económico neoestatista del MAS fue exitoso. En esta lámina observen ustedes el Producto Interno Bruto de 2004 a 2021 en tasas de crecimiento y vean que, ¿no es cierto?, hay una evolución bastante interesante. El 2008 se logró una tasa de crecimiento de 6.1%, luego hubo una caída, pero una tendencia ascendente hasta el año 2013 y luego una contracción del nivel de actividad económica hasta el año 2018, una caída muy fuerte el año 2020, producto de la pandemia y de las cuarentenas que se aplicaron en Bolivia y en el mundo, y posteriormente una recuperación, un rebote de la economía el año 2021, que muestra una tasa de crecimiento de 6,3%. Ahora bien, cuando uno compara esos ritmos de crecimiento con el movimiento de los precios externos, encuentra precisamente esta relación, ¿no? Las fases de crecimiento desde el 2005 corresponden a periodos de incremento en los precios externos de las materias primas que produce y exporta Bolivia. Esta caída de el año 2009 con un crecimiento de 3,4%, se explica por la crisis de las hipotecas subprime, y luego, ¿no es cierto?, a partir del 2010 hasta el 2013, nuevamente los precios externos recuperan, crecen y la economía boliviana de la misma forma intensifica su nivel de crecimiento. Pero el superciclo en el precio de las materias primas terminó entre el 2013 y el 2014, de manera tal que la economía boliviana empezó a experimentar una fase declinante en el nivel de actividad económica, como se observa, ¿no es cierto?, en el gráfico, que corresponde también a una caída en los precios externos. Y el rebote del año 2001, con una tasa de crecimiento importante, se explica también por la normalización de las economías en el mundo, el aumento en la demanda de materias primas que casi se había paralizado el año 2020 y por lo tanto un aumento en los precios externos que influyó de manera decisiva en el comportamiento de la economía boliviana. Es importante anotar también que el año 2013 es el año en que se registró el primer nivel máximo en la producción de gas natural de Bolivia, principal producto de exportación. Ese año precisamente el nivel de crecimiento fue el más intenso de todo el periodo, con 6,8%. Bien, veamos esta otra información, porque estamos evaluando el modelo, en relación a la evolución de la deuda externa pública entre el 2005 y el 2021. Los valores están en millones de dólares y son los saldos de la deuda. Entonces veamos que entre 2005 y 2006, inclusive al 2007, la deuda externa de Bolivia disminuyó en un 55,3% debido a la condonación que se realizó, ¿no es cierto?, para los países más pobres del mundo, dentro de los cuales estaba incluido Bolivia. Entonces, esa condonación acordada por los ministros de Hacienda en una reunión en 2005 en Escocia, ¿no?, y que empezó a aplicarse el año 2006, permitió que Bolivia reduzca el saldo de la deuda en más del 55%, ¿no? De 4.942 millones de dólares a 2.208 millones de dólares. Pero a partir del año 2008, el crédito externo fue creciendo intensamente, como se advierte en las cifras de esta lámina. En ese proceso hay que hacer notar estos elementos. El año 2012 se produjo la primera colocación de bonos soberanos por 500 millones de dólares. El año 2013 se registró la segunda colocación de bonos soberanos también por 500 millones de dólares. Y el año 2017, la tercera colocación de bonos soberanos por 1.000 millones de dólares. El punto acá es señalar esto, ¿no? Sabemos que no es malo endeudarse. Primer elemento. Segundo elemento, el problema es el destino, es la asignación de esos recursos provenientes de la deuda externa. Finalmente hay que decir que este proceso de fuerte endeudamiento externo es simultáneo al boom de precios de las materias primas, al boom en el valor de las exportaciones. Las exportaciones en Bolivia hasta el 2005 no llegaban a los 1.800 millones de dólares. El 2014 superaron los 12.000 millones de dólares. La pregunta en este caso es, ¿había justificativo para endeudar al país intensamente? ¿No? Bien, veamos ahora qué pasó con el sector petrolero. Por eso es que denominado a esta sección como dañando estructuralmente al sector petrolero o matando a la gallina de los huevos de oro, tomando en cuenta que las exportaciones de gas natural constituían el principal producto de exportación de Bolivia, ¿no? Debido a un proceso de reformas económicas que se impulsaron en Bolivia desde los años 80. Hay que hacer notar primero estos hechos relevantes en el sector petrolero. En 1974 se firmó el primer acuerdo de exportación de gas natural al Brasil. Los gobiernos en los años 80 y en la primera mitad de los años 90 mantuvieron ese acuerdo con el Brasil, ¿no? El mayor mercado del gas natural para Bolivia, el Brasil, por el tamaño de su economía, ¿no? De manera tal que se mantuvo ese acuerdo que se fue modificando en el tiempo. Entre 1995 y 96 se aplicaron reformas importantes, una nueva ley de hidrocarburos y se empezó a captar, mediante modificación de las leyes sectoriales, importantes flujos de inversión extranjera directa. El año 1997 se culminaron las negociaciones con el Brasil para exportar gas natural. El año 99 comenzaron las exportaciones al Brasil, vinculando además el precio del gas al precio del petróleo BTI, ¿no? Entonces, después de casi 25 años de negociaciones continuas con el Brasil, se concretó la exportación de gas al Brasil el año 1999. Es decir, la idea fundamental de abrir el mercado de exportación del Brasil se convirtió en una política pública transversal a los diferentes gobiernos en Bolivia desde los años 70 hasta los años 90. Gobiernos dictatoriales, militares, gobiernos de derecha, gobiernos de izquierda, mantuvieron ese proyecto económico en la misma línea. Bolivia, sin duda, entre las características que tiene, es que es un país con una institucionalidad muy débil y carente de políticas públicas. Pero en este caso, ¿no? Esta permanente acción desarrollada por las autoridades para abrir el mercado del Brasil, ¿no? Y venderle el gas natural en algún momento se mantuvo. Y los gobiernos de diferente filiación ideológica mantuvieron la idea y le impulsaron en su momento, ¿no? Y le impulsaron en su momento. Entonces, al comenzar los años 2000, evidentemente Bolivia había empezado a exportar gas natural al Brasil. Las reformas que se aplicaron en la primera mitad de los años 90 permitieron encontrar importantes reservas de gas natural. Y cuando comenzó la exportación de gas natural al Brasil, ese periodo coincidió claramente con el inicio del boom de precios en el mercado externo, ¿no? Finalmente, hay otro hecho importante que ocurrió en 2005 con la nueva ley de hidrocarburos que aumenta los impuestos, ¿no? Aumenta la carga impositiva sobre el sector petrolero, y el año 2006 se produjo la llamada nacionalización de los hidrocarburos, que en realidad no fue ninguna nacionalización. ¿Por qué razón? Porque conceptualmente nacionalización, ¿cómo se entiende? Se entiende como la confiscación o expropiación de un activo privado por parte del Estado. Y el Estado empieza a hacer gestión, generalmente a través de una empresa estatal, de ese activo privado, ahora convertido en un activo estatal. Históricamente, esas son las experiencias de nacionalización en América Latina y por supuesto en Bolivia. Porque en Bolivia, en el sector petrolero, se nacionalizó la Standard Oil en 1937, la Bolivian Gulf Oil en 1969 y en ambos momentos fue la empresa estatal, Yacimientos Petrolíferos Fiscales Bolivianos, quien se hizo cargo de la producción de petróleo y de gas natural en su momento, ¿no? Pero lo que se llama nacionalización de los hidrocarburos, el año 2006, simplemente fue una renegociación de contratos, porque los operadores extranjeros, ¿no?, se quedaron en el país como se quedaron hasta el día de hoy. De modo que no hubo tal nacionalización. No hubo tal nacionalización, ¿no? Bien, veamos ahora estas cifras. En este gráfico les muestro la inversión total en el sector petrolero de 1990 al 2021. Hubo un ciclo ascendente importante en la primera mitad de los años 90 hasta comienzos de los años 2000, luego una caída y un nuevo aumento importante en valor absoluto que culminó en su nivel máximo el año 2015 para luego caer de manera significativa. Esta es la inversión total en el sector petrolero. Veamos ahora la inversión en exploración. El dato que tengo solamente es hasta el 2019. Los valores también están en millones de dólares. Hay que recordar que esta inversión en exploración obviamente se orienta a la búsqueda de nuevos yacimientos, principalmente de gas natural. Y vean cómo esta inversión, que después que llegó a un nivel importante, el año 1998 empezó a caer fuertemente en los años siguientes, recuperó a partir principalmente de el año 2011, aumentó hasta el 2016 y nuevamente cayó para rebotar, digamos, el año 2019 con 312 millones de dólares. Ahora bien, si comparamos la inversión en exploración respecto a la inversión total entre 1998 al 2019, en porcentaje tenemos esta relación. Entre 1998 y 99, la inversión en exploración representó más del 60% de la inversión total. Y luego, a partir del 2002, esa inversión cayó respecto a la total, ¿no? Y los aumentos que se registraron entre el 2013 y 2018 no llegaron a los niveles que se registraron de inversión en exploración en los años 90. El año 2019 hubo un aumento importante de la inversión en exploración. Se perforó un pozo en el norte del departamento de La Paz, pero se encontró un bolsón de gas que no resultó económicamente rentable. De manera que esa inversión, como siempre acontece en el sector petrolero, no tuvo resultados positivos. Veamos en esta lámina la relación de los pozos.
Profesor Pacheco.
¿Sí?
Mil disculpas por interrumpir. Por el asunto de tiempo, ¿podría acabar su presentación en 5 minutos, por favor? Mil disculpas.
Claro que sí.
Gracias.
En esta lámina les muestro la relación de pozos exploratorios. Entre 1998 al 2005, estos fueron en número mucho más que del 2006 al 2019. Las reservas de gas, aquí están detalladas. Hoy día la última certificación mostraba que tenemos solamente 8,95 trillones de pies cúbicos. Esta es la evolución de la producción de gas natural, ya con una fase declinante. Claramente voy a avanzar y hablo sobre los costos recuperables, que son costos que YPFB devuelve a las empresas en base a un registro que las empresas le presentan a YPFB. La finalidad de los costos recuperables, claramente en última instancia, es estimular la inversión en exploración y prospección. Veamos, del 2007 al 2019, YPFB devolvió a las empresas más de 10.700 millones de dólares. Y la inversión en ningún modo llegó a esos niveles. Más bien, Bolivia, dada la caída en la producción de gas natural y de petróleo y condensado, empezó a importar hidrocarburos, como se observa en esta lámina, ¿no? Y las exportaciones de gas natural respecto a las exportaciones de hidrocarburos, respecto a las exportaciones totales, cayeron, como se observa en esta lámina. La renta petrolera captada por el Estado entre el 2006 al 2021 llegó a más de 35.000 billones de dólares. La pregunta en este caso es, ¿cuál fue el destino de esta renta petrolera? ¿Cuál fue el destino de esta renta petrolera? Esta es la importancia de la renta petrolera en relación a los ingresos del gobierno general, ¿no? Y finalmente voy a acabar con esta lámina, voy a dejar de lado las otras. Es el balance fiscal que muestra superávit o déficit. Las columnas verdes del 2006 al 2013 muestran un superávit fiscal importante, ¿no? Para las cuentas fiscales en Bolivia. Pero ese periodo coincide con los precios altos del gas y de las materias primas. Y desde el 2014, las cuentas fiscales son deficitarias y ese periodo coincide, todos esos déficits fiscales coinciden con el periodo de precios bajos del gas y de las materias primas en general. De modo que, ¿no es cierto?, el modelo económico, social o productivo, como le llama el gobierno, y como yo le llamo el modelo neoestatista, ¿no es cierto?, solamente resultó funcionando en las fases de aumentos de precios de las materias primas y no cambió la condición fundamental de Bolivia de ser un país productor de materias primas, como anunciaba el modelo en el libro del señor Arce. De modo que este modelo, ¿no es cierto?, está dejando un saldo negativo para la economía boliviana porque ni siquiera se pudo empezar un proceso de diversificación económica que en el largo plazo debiera permitir ir disminuyendo la importancia en la producción de recursos naturales no renovables. Bien, con eso acabo, entonces doy paso a la moderadora. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, profesor Napoleón Pacheco Torrico. Gracias por compartir su pensamiento y observación. Por último, invitamos ingeniero Steven Magariño Terrazas, jefe de la Unidad de Estudios y especialista en mercados del Instituto Boliviano de Comercio Exterior.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I take account of this presentation I will be in English. So, well, I'm glad to participate in this seminar. Thank you for your inviting me. Today, I will share my presentation here. 1 moment. Well, today I would like to present a description of the potential of the foreign trade in Bolivia, recommendation and an overview and evolution of the trade of Bolivia, considerate and compared with South Korea as a partner. Describing some characteristics of the Bolivia and some strategies that the sectors could be put in the table to considerate to promote the economic exchange between the both countries. Well, first I will show you the topics that I will describe during this presentation. First, initially I will like describing the Bolivian foreign trade, compared with the world, then compare it only with the South Korea. Then we're talking about of the direct foreign investments, a description of the potential of Bolivia as a diversity and a potential lands and sectors that we will have, and describing more specific the potential areas to complementation between the economic exchange between Bolivia and South Korea, and some recommendations that we will to describe for you. Well, initially, Sorry. Initially, in the presentation, we will have Bolivian exports to the world. We will come to show here that during these 10 years ago, we have a fluctuation of the exports to the world. The previous years, consider the period between the 2012 to the 2019, the evolution of the exports are considered between the prices and the economic crisis in the world, and these conjunctural topics in the world have interesting actions in Bolivia. But in the 2 years ago, we can show an increasing of the value of exports. This point are considered some increasing of the prices of the raw materials and the recuperations between of the Bolivian exports. So, like a general description is the value of the Bolivian exports set around record in 2014 around $30,000 million, but in this year in 2022 we have a trend of growth of almost of the sectors, and the new records will be registered where the volume does not have the same trend, which denotes a positive price effect. Considering the main countries of destination, Bolivia export in 103 countries in the last year. So the main countries that they export our destination are India, and then Brazil, Argentina. Initially, these countries are the main destinations of our exports in value, of course. The evolution of the imports are very interesting during these past years, 10 years ago. So during the 2012 to 2019, the trade balance are usually negative, because usually we import more value than the exports. But initially to the 2021, the exports are supplies. So the value of the imports reached a top peak in 2014, around $11 billion. For this year to September, it has already exceeded to the total value than 2011, which made a little another import top peak. Our traditional partners in the imports usually are China and Brazil. China and Brazil, and then Argentina are the main countries of origin, considering the almost more than half representative in the imports. The last year, Bolivia imports from 198 countries. Talking about the relation between Bolivia and South Korea, well, the trade balance here between our countries more surprised due to the large amount of mineral export to the South Korea. Like you say here, you can say that the imports are more slow than the exports in value, of course, right? When we're talking about the export to Korea, South Korea, we're talking about the representative of the exports. You can see here that, for example, in 2017, right? Bolivia export $629 million to South Korea, and this represents the 8% of the Bolivian exports to the world. Usually, so the trend is around 3% and 8% during the 10 years ago. For the last year, 2021, the Bolivian export to South Korea represented 4%. To the September for this year represents 4% too. And expected is that this percent could be increased to the complete year. So the Bolivian export reached a peak in the 2017, yes, and South Korea is into the ranking of the 10 destination countries for the Bolivian exports. The exports are usually concentrated in minerals, different kind of minerals, and especially, of course, coffee and woods and some garments too. Usually that Bolivia exports to Korea. Talking about of the imports from South Korea, this show interesting evolution, because you can see here that in volume, of course, in 2015, Bolivia imports from South Korea $188 million. That represents 1.9% of the total imports in Bolivia. The range between the imports are very slow, right? But are concentrate the import usually in machinery and vehicles, different kind of technology for many kind of sectors. Talking about the direct foreign investment, you can see here that the South Korea has low reached around $67 million in 2016, and in the last 2 years not have exactly investment from Bolivia for South Korea. But usually the direct foreign investments of the other countries for the last year reached $1,052 million, concentrate or representative in more percent of China and other countries, and focusing infrastructure and low loans and another types of investment in Bolivia. Well, talking about the description of Bolivia, you know, I'm sure that Bolivia has 2 cities very important: the capital, Sucre, and the seat of the government in La Paz. The language official is Spanish, but Bolivia have many native languages too. that talking in different places around the Bolivia. The territorial limits is around here, or is in the bordering of Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, Chile, and Peru. So this is a point geographic that concentrates in the heart of the South America, and the currency is Boliviano. The population is around the 12 millions of inhabitants in Bolivia, estimate, and country area more than 1 million of kilometers square. These cities, in particular La Paz, Cochabamba, and Santa Cruz, represent the principal axis in Bolivia. They represent the cities, departments that concentrate the more volume of economic and movement on industrial and companies in Bolivia. Here you can see some characteristics of the Bolivia, the geography, some ecological features, like Bolivia has an Andean region in the southwest that covers 28% of the national territory. Here you can highlight some areas very interesting for the tourists, for the different industries too, like Titicaca Lake or Unisalar. Then we have a salt deposit and lithium reserves concentrate. So we have a sub-Andean region in the south, and the center south here in Bolivia is an intermediate region between the highlights and the eastern plains. Covers around the 13 of the Bolivian area and includes the valleys and the Yungas. This area are concentrated and have a potential of the agricultural kind of products. And the region of the lowlands in the northeast covers around the 59% in national surfaces, and usually located in the north to the Oriental and the River Range, with the extent of the foot of the Andes to the Paraguay River. Here, in this part of the lowlands, we can concentrate extensive zones, forest, and agricultural and equine sector that have an expansion of the increasing of these sectors too. The climates are very similar climates in all of Bolivia, because we have climates in focus to the very cold and very hot too. So this geography, ecology, and climate could have a very interesting potential and diversification in different kinds of products. For example, in the Andean regions, in the highlights, we can concentrate cocoa cultivate, right? This kind of product have an interest potential for the international markets. And in the lowland lands, there are Sylvester cacao, sorry. And this is other kind of cacao that have interesting potential too for different kind of segments with more prices in the international markets. So the different levels of the regions and climates has to the potential kind of products different competitive difference between the other offers in the world. Our natural resources are usually concentrated in the mining, hydrocarbons, and today we can to highlight in the minerals. So usually and traditionally, the exports are concentrated in traditional products and non-traditional products. Traditional products for Bolivia are usually the mining and hydrocarbons products that usually concentrate around the 70 to 80% of the exports in Bolivia. And the non-traditional products, soybean and other kind of products, agriculture, pecuary, woods, timber, and other kinds of products represented only around 10%, 30% only. But this complex, this representative percent changed in the last 2 years, considering the dispersion, the change of the economic in the world and in Bolivia too. So today, the exports of the non-traditional products are increasing and exceeded to the hydrocarbons, the gas exports, for example, for this year. So these kind of changes of the economic and exports matrix show that Bolivia are focused more in non-traditional products. Is like a strategy of Bolivia try to promote our non-traditional products and generate industrialization and value chain value in the products. The diversity in Bolivia are very unusual compared with many countries in the world, because of course that Bolivia has or are very rich in diversity with the forest, with the different kind of sector very potentials, and we have a concept named biodiversity, bioeconomy, that the companies and the entrepreneurs try to boost it to increase our business to the local markets and with a vision to the internationalization with this kind of new products. The potential areas to complementation between our countries could be concentrated in the, of course, Bolivian exports are concentrated in mineral resources. So this is a traditional kind of products that we will continue a high potential export to South Korea, but we can consider other like different kind of raw materials, foods, pecuary products, and what generally and other food products with more value considered to this South Korea market. South Korea market, in the other case, have an interesting potential to export Bolivia, focus in the electronic equipment, machinery, electricity, chemicals, and other kind of products that usually Bolivia produce a lot or not produce nothing. Well, our recommendations that consider it like a strategic to increase our economic exchange between our countries could be focused in the exchange information towards mutual knowledge, So it's very important no more for the Bolivian companies, for the different kind of actors in Bolivia, no more the relation between our countries and have detailed information about, well, who is the potential product exactly, what is the target specifically for this kind of product, what is the conditions or the barriers that we can to have some kind of products to export both imports too. So it's very important we will have exchange information for the mutual knowledge between our countries and between different kind of institutions too. So the second point that we will recommendation is establishing to the focal points in Bolivia and South Korea. There are many focal points that we can do describing, but I will describe in some three that could be in try to promote and boost the export of with value, the export of the mainly agricultural products, pecuary products, woods, timber and forestry products too, because these kind of products for Bolivia has more fast reactions to an impact in our value exports. And the other kind of points that we can consider is reduction the imports, concentrate only in products that Bolivia and industry we will needs especially. So South Korea has a high potential in technology innovation that we can do using for increase and increase our productions, increase our qualities of the product, etc. And of course, try to generate more investments between our countries in different kind of sectors. Other recommendation that we will have is create and develop websites to make opportunities more visible, investment and trends. There are many entrepreneurs usually, statistics for a couple of years that showed that so per day 10 companies create per day, like that. So the trends continue increasing in this way. There are many usually entrepreneurs of different kind of business that need no more opportunities, need more what is the necessity of these markets that try to invest and concentrate in this kind of targets. Other recommendation is develop a business roundtables between Bolivian and Korean business companies, between the companies, of course. It's very important that the relation between the companies, Bolivian and Korean, are more close and are developing with one per year or by sector because the export and imports could be increasing, and the relation between our countries and the image, of course, of the both countries could be increased. The cooperation agreement with IPSA, for example, could be destacate the position and image in Bolivia in particular. Concentrate in campaigns, in activities and lobbying, in business activities that promote opportunities and relation between the companies, business between our countries. Well, this is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias, ingeniero Steven Magariños. Ahora, antes de terminar la primera sesión, voy a recibir solo una pregunta a través del Zoom. Si tiene algunas preguntas, por favor, levante su mano a través de la función de levantar la mano. Sí, señor Jesús Limpias.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Jesús Limpias. Buenas tardes.
Una pregunta para la primera presentación, que tiene que ver con los planteamientos que hizo respecto a el Estado capacitador. Habló del Estado capacitador, tal vez podría ampliar cómo se ha hecho toda esa propuesta de que el Estado capacite, impulse para ese modelo de sustitución de exportaciones a través de sus propuestas, de su modelo que ha estado planteando. Porque aquí planteaba educación y capacitación para tener ventajas comparativas dinámicas y además para establecer una ventaja comparativa dinámica, educación e investigación y desarrollo. ¿Qué elementos, qué aspectos básicos se han planteado para llevar adelante este modelo exitoso en Corea? Gracias.
Yo contesto. ¿Ahora contesto?
Sí, por favor,
Okay.
profesor.
Sí, muchas gracias por su pregunta. En cuanto al Estado capacitado, yo quería decir profesionalismo de los burócratas, profesionalismo de los funcionarios públicos. En el caso de Corea del Sur, por ejemplo, uno debe pasar el examen nacional a ser altos funcionarios del gobierno y después hay una serie de procesos de capacitación de los funcionarios del gobierno. Así el Estado puede, yo quiero decir, el grupo de los funcionarios gubernamentales podrán evaluar el proceso, por ejemplo, proceso de industrialización y el proceso de planeación para el desarrollo de largo plazo. En ese sentido, yo quería decir capacidad del Estado o capacitado el Estado, ¿no? Y segundo, en cuanto al proceso de inversión en investigación y desarrollo, básicamente en el caso de Corea del Sur, en la primera etapa hubo programa de repatriación de los cerebros. Corea del Sur también sufrió mucho de fuga de cerebro en la década 50 y en la década 60. Por eso primero hubo iniciativa de repatriación de los cerebros en el extranjero, ofreciendo, por ejemplo, algunos incentivos de vivienda o de remuneración monetaria, etcétera, etcétera, mientras enfatizando cultivación de los trabajadores en el sector de las industrias, por ejemplo, enfatizando educación en el programa de ingeniería y también ciencia y tecnología, estableciendo mayores institutos de investigación, think tank, en esas áreas de ciencia y tecnología. Así, muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, profesor Kim, y gracias, señor Jesús Limpias, por su pregunta. Bueno, ahora bien, seguimos la segunda sesión. En esta sesión, los expositores van a presentar en inglés, para quien no habla español y tenga mucho interés, al litio de Bolivia. El tema de esta sesión es retos de la industrialización del litio en Bolivia. In this second session, like the first session, 3 lecturers will give a speech around 15 minutes explaining about industrialization of lithium in Bolivia. First of all, I would like to invite Mr. Rudy Fernando Medina Coque from Yacimiento de Litio Boliviano to present about crucial actual lithium issues in Bolivia.
Hi, my name is Rudy Medina and I work for YLB. So I will share a presentation. Okay. Well, we will be talking about the strategy of lithium in Bolivia and mainly about what has been done by YLB about the lithium exploitation in this country. So the first thing to talk about is the salt flats that Bolivia has. As you can see in this picture, and the left side, it's painted with red. So those are the biggest salt flats that Bolivia has. And the first one is the salt flat of Coipasa. The second is the Uyuni salt flat. And the third one is the Pastos Grandes salt flat. Bolivia has more salt flats, about 14, I guess, but all of them have a total surface area of 17,000 kilometers square of salt flats in Bolivia. And we will be talking about the 3 first salars that I mentioned because these are more important to us because the content of lithium that they have. Well, the first one is the salar of Coipasa. Salar of Coipasa it has a surface of 3,300 square kilometers, and it has a concentration of lithium of about 0.05%, its weight percent, and it has a content of magnesium of 1.72%. It has a really high ratio magnesium to lithium. So it hasn't been industrialized. So it has been explored and it is in the stage of prospection, but it hasn't not been industrialized. And the second one, and it's the biggest one in Bolivia and the biggest in the world, is the Uyuni salt flat. When it has 10,000 square kilometers, and it has a concentration of lithium of 0.09% and a magnesium to lithium ratio of about 20. Well, the biggest part of this is that the magnesium content is really important when it's to treat with lithium. So if we want to convert the lithium that is in the brine to lithium carbonate, we need to control this ratio. So it tells us about the quality of the brine. So as you can see in the first salar, it has a magnesium to lithium ratio of about 34. So it has less quality than the Uyuni salar, but it has a high content of lithium compared with other salt flats that are in the world. Well, in the last one, we have the Pastos Grandes. It's a very small salt flat compared with the other ones, but it is interesting because this salt flat has a really high concentration of lithium compared with the others, right? And a really low concentration of magnesium, which makes it very attractive because this ratio, as I said before, determines the quality of the brine we are dealing with. So the second thing I would like to talk is the development overview that YLB has been doing to industrialize the Uyuni salt flat. So in the 2008 was the creation of the National Department of Evaporate Resources, and it started the beginning of the research and development of the brine in Bolivia. So in the 2010, we start with the construction of the pilot plants, the pilot plant of potassium chloride and a pilot plant of lithium carbonate with a small production. In the 2013, it started the construction of the industrial evaporation ponds. So we use evaporation ponds as the technology to extract lithium from brine. And in the 2015, the beginning of the construction of the potassium chloride plant at an industrial scale, and also the construction of the pilot plants for battery and cathode materials. And this is the beginning of YLB. In the 2017, YLB was established to manage what is the lithium exploitation. So this was the beginning of YLB. But the research and development of the lithium by Bolivia has started in the 2008. And in the 2018, we have the first industrial plant that has been finished. It's an industrial plant of potassium chloride. And last year, we have the completion of the first Science and Technology Research Center, which is localized in Potosí, and is one of the most complete research centers that we have in Bolivia now. And in the 2022, we are about to finish what is the completion of the industrial plant of lithium carbonate. Well, this is an overview of the line time that YLB has been following. So I will detail a little of the strategy that our country has about the lithium exploitation. It has been divided into 4 stages, as I will show. Well, these 4 stages are, in the first stage, it has to deal with the exploration and research. And as I said, it has started in the 2008, and it's referred to the construction of the pilot plants. The main sources that we wanted to exploit was first the potassium chloride and second the lithium carbonate. So the first stage contains all of that. The exploration of the brine in Uyuni, Pastos Grandes, and Coipasa, and the construction of the pilot plant in Uyuni for potassium chloride and lithium carbonate. These pilot plants have a capacity of 2,800 tons per year for potassium chloride and 250 tons per year for lithium carbonate. And the first stage also is with the research about the batteries. The investment that Bolivia has made in this stage was about $7 million USD dollars. And also after that, we start the stage 2, which is referred to the industrial plants. And in this stage, we have first the construction and industrialization of all the evaporation ponds. So we have built, and currently we are operating these evaporation ponds to produce different variety of salts. Well, but the main part of this is the industrialization of lithium. So the second part of this stage is the production of lithium carbonate. We're planning to produce 15,000 tons per year of lithium carbonate, and also 350,000 tons per year of potassium chloride. This plant of potassium chloride is currently in operation. So it has finished it in the 2018. So we are operating this Castillo plant, but this lithium carbonate plant is still on construction. The investment of Bolivia in this project is about 485 million USD dollars. And in the stage 3, we have what is the construction of the industrial plants of lithium hydroxide, cathode materials for batteries, and also industrial plant of lithium ion batteries. And also it's been included what would be the project of the direct lithium extraction plant, which I think is the public knowledge that Bolivia has started to attract investment and also technology for other countries, so we can improve our current system of extraction of lithium. And after that, the stage 4 of the project is related with the industrialization of new salt flats. As I said before, Uyuni is the one that is most developed right now, but we also have some other salt flats like Coipasa, Pastos Grandes. So the stage 4 is related to that. So we will industrialize what is Coipasa, Pastos Grandes, and the other small salt flats that we have in the country. After this, we have I will describe what is in this stage 1, a little bit of more detail. We'll keep it in this part. So as I said, the research and creation of the pilot plants. So first of all, everything that we have done, it starts with the drilling of the brine bores and to obtain the brine so we can evaporate this in the solar evaporation ponds. The implementation of the plants, the pilot plants, all the research that have been done in Bolivia is referred especially to the lithium and the potassium, and also the creation of the research center and development of the piloting in brines and batteries. This timeline here is showing how was the progress of all this. So from the 2010 on to the 2015, we have been working with the research and the creation of these pilot plants. And only in the 2016, we start the operation of the industrial plants and the construction of some of them. As I said, as a part of the research and development, we have created the SESIÓN, which stands for Research Center in Material Science and Technology, which has an investment of $55 million in state-of-the-art equipment. So we have what is a 10 microscope, a SEN microscope, a nuclear magnetic resonance equipment, an XPS, an ICP, an atomic absorption, a thermogravimetric analysis, a differential scaling calorimeter, an X-ray diffraction, Raman, gas chromatography, and UV analyzers. So we have a lot of investment in the research, and this center is currently in operation, and it's creating new technology in the field of batteries and also in the field of brine processing, such developing new technologies to extract in a more efficient way lithium, and also how to can take advantage and use of the other byproducts that are generated from the ponds. That's in the stage 1. And this is the description of the pilot plants. So as I said, the brine that is extracted from the underground is pumped to these ponds, and using solar radiation, we can start to evaporate, and we can obtain different kind of products in every pond. The first product that we obtain usually is halide, is sodium chloride, which has a purity of 99% weight. And after the first stage of evaporation, it can give us what it's called sylvinite. And sylvinite is a mixture of sodium chloride and potassium chloride. This is the raw material that is fed to the CASIL pilot plant. So we take this mixture and start to purify it so we can get a 96% of potassium chloride and at a capacity to 2,800 tons per year. There are also some other ponds, and we call them like mix A and mix B, right? But we call that because this is a mixture of different kind of salts. So this has like sodium chloride, potassium chloride, potassium sulfate, and magnesium sulfate. And currently we are working with this mixture in the development team. So we are obtaining what it's potassium sulfate. And it has a lot of applications in the fertilizer, as a fertilizer. So we have developed the process, but we still are implemented it at the industrial scale. And after these ponds, we reach what it's called the lithium sulfate pond, with the raw material for the lithium pilot plant is created. So the lithium pilot plant is purifying this mixture so we can obtain the lithium carbonate. The lithium carbonate is obtained to a 98.5% purity. It is not a battery grade, but this is for the pilot plant. In the industrial plant, it would produce battery grade lithium carbonate. And finally, we get to what it's called the waste brine or the residuals. But these residuals are wrongly called waste because they have a lot of magnesium and boron that can be used as byproducts. So the exploitation of this has been delayed. So this constitutes an opportunity to start treating this waste and obtaining new byproducts from this change. And in the stage 2, we have taken this design, the first one of the pilot plant, and we scale this to an industrial scale, so we can get like 450,000 tons per year in every plant. For example, that's for a light. So we get that much of raw material for the plants. So we have created this system, this sequence, and we have like multiplied by 12 lines, and we are expecting to complete this circuit and to the value of 20 lines. So as you can see in the pictures, these are really big ponds. The first one has 30 hectares and 30, 20, 20, 10, 3 hectares. So are really big ponds, so we can get the raw materials for the industrial plants. And in the stage 2, as I said, you can see in these pictures, it's the construction of the industrial plant of KCL. So it's already in operation. And also the construction of the industrial plant of lithium carbonate is almost finished. This picture is from the 2021, so it's not up to date. Currently, it's almost finished, so it will start operation in the 2023. So there is a little delay in the construction, but it will start operation next year. So it will be producing 15,000 tons per year of lithium carbonate. And as I said, it will be of battery grade, so 99.5% of purity. And in stage 3, so this stage 3 is planning to work in the 2021 until 2025. It is related to the new projects and the product diversification that we can get from our industry or our plants. First, it's related with the direct construction plant. In association with strategic partners, we recognize that our current technology is not as efficient as new technology is advancing and it's emerging. So we will try to boost our production using the direct lithium extraction technology. And second, we will start the industrial plant of the lithium hydroxide. The DLE technology can allow us to go from the raw material lithium chloride to the lithium hydroxide. So it's very guaranteed that we will be producing lithium hydroxide by the end of the 2025. And also, we know that the lithium production needs raw materials such as sodium carbonate. So it has become a strategic raw material. So it's being analyzed so we can start constructing our own industrial plant of sodium carbonate. And also, after that, it's planned to construct an industrial plant of lithium-ion batteries. We are working from the research center that I already taught you. So after that, the development of process to deploy the residual byproducts. There is a lot of opportunities to work here because our waste has a lot of boron and magnesium. So these materials can be the initial point to create new industries. And in the stage 4, it's containing what's the exploration of the new sulfates and industrialization of the sulfate of Coipasa and also Pastos Grandes. And after that, the exploration of the new lithium-rich sulfates. Well, and the opportunities that we have now in the project are that Bolivia is interested to continue the lithium project exploitation and development, and it may be interested in work in association to strategic partners. As I said, YLB is open to work with other partners in terms of sharing technology, share experience, and exchange between personnel, so we can start forming personnel in Bolivia. And there is a second opportunity that's related with the battery industry. Nickel is becoming an important raw material for the battery industry, and Bolivia has all the main raw materials to produce lithium-ion batteries. In the lithium-ion batteries, we have what's called the NMC type battery. So it uses nickel, also manganese, and also lithium. And nickel, it's used in the biggest part. So nickel can become a strategic material because its price is increasing with time. So Bolivia has a place has nickel, but it has not been exploited. But it is in the stage of exploration and perspective, and it could become an opportunity to work and develop a new process for extracting nickel from Bolivia. And also Bolivia needs to institute training facilities for Bolivian personnel in the field of salt flats processing, extraction, purification, concentration, and synthesis of new materials, synthesis of cathodic materials to optimize our current process. We are doing associations with universities and also training our personnel so they can get new abilities and start contributing to the current process that we already have. And in the phase 3 and 4, the project may be interested in the involvement of world-renowned companies as partners in several salt flats related to Pastos Grandes and Coipasa. And in conclusion, Bolivia, a country that had begun the study of lithium in the 28, consolidated itself as a strategic company in the 2017, as YLD is seeking to become the largest producer of lithium carbonate in the region. And also the implementation of the more modern and adequate technology to obtain high purity salts is necessary, and Bolivia has been developing its own tailor-made technology. YLB has all the equipment, the research, and it's open to work to continue developing and industrializing the lithium. And other projects include obtaining lithium-ion-based cathodic materials and implementation of an industrial plant for the lithium-ion batteries. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Medina. Well, following presentation is about lithium industry in Bolivia. Please welcome Mr. Mauricio Medinaceli Morroy.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay, Mrs. Sun? Yes? Okay, good. So I want to do a short presentation about, I would say, the governance of lithium in Bolivia, more than technical aspects, because I believe already the previous person made a lot of technical description of the project. So what they asked me to do is some history about the lithium in Bolivia. So between 1973 and 1982, there are some events. One is the National University of La Paz and a French institution called Alstom do some evaluation of the resources of the Bolivian Salt Lake Uyuni. And in 1981, these results were presented in France, saying that Bolivia has the biggest reserves in the world with about 5.5 million of tons. After that, in 1983, a joint venture was signed between the Bolivian and German universities to start the prospect activities. So that stage ends there. We have now the history of the Lithium Corporation. In 1983, LITIO, which is was a private company, proposed a public-private partnership with the government with some features that you can see there: 51% of the shares with LITIO, 49% to the shares with the Bolivian government, exclusive concession rights, and exclusive commercialization rights. And in 1985, the Bolivian government approved a law that created CIRESU, which was an industrial complex of the resources in Uyuni. And in 1988, a preliminary contract was signed between the Bolivian government and LITIO. And this is important, with a strong regional opposition. It's good to point here that in Bolivia, the Salt Lake is in a region called Potosí, but the government, the central government, is in another region which is La Paz. So whenever the central governments do an agreement with private companies, there are a strong regional opposition to that, because the regions believe that the central government doesn't follow the regional interest. That's why you will see a lot of regional opposition here. But nevertheless, in 1989, an MOU draft and a draft contract were signed between the Bolivia government and LITCO with these features: 40 million of USD as an investment, the plant capacity of 7 tons per year, 7,000 tons per year, and the government and Bolivia only participated as with taxes and royalty. So we are dealing here with a concession agreement. And in 1990, the regional government opposed to that project, this regional, and they asked for an international bidding process. The winner of this bidding process was a company called FMC Corporation LITCO, which mostly was LITCO, of course. But at that moment, the government increased the VAT rate from 10 to 13%. So this private company say that they don't want to pay this additional tax because they already signed a contract, but some problems were created, and in 1993, FMC LITCO abandoned the project. So that was the first part of the history of lithium in Bolivia, I would say. Now, the other part is that after the LITCO left the country, the government of Bolivia approved a new law, the Balda law, and this is very interesting because Balda was the last name of a congressman in Bolivia that proposed this new law. So you can see the politics behind here. And this congressman was colluded, I believe, with this company, the non-metallic minerals. And this company gained the concession with the new law. Again, a lot of regional pressure against this law. And the concession to this company was revoked. And in 2004, a new legal Supreme Decree revoked the concession to this second private company that signed a MOU with Bolivia's government. Now, in 2006 and 2019, there is a new history of the lithium project. In 2007, all the national territory was declared fiscal reserves, and the Comibol, which is the mineral estate company in Bolivia, was in charge of the industrialization and commercialization activities. And at the end of this year, the president of that time, Mr. Evo Morales, commissioned to national technicians to prepare a feasibility study to install a pilot plant to process brine in the Uyuni salt flat. In between 2015 and 2016, the construction of the industrial size potassium chloride plant began and was completed in 2018. So a lot was discussed here. So we have pilot plants in Bolivia, at that moment managed by the state company. But in 2017, with the loan 928, a new state company was created, the National Lithium Company, which the previous colleague works there, YLB. So this company now is in charge of the manage of the pilot plants. In 2018, YLB, which is the national company, signing a PPP, a public-private partnership, with the German company ACI system to build 4 plants with these features here. And the estimated investment was about 1.3 billion. Again, this new contract, this new PPT was observed by some organizations, especially from the city of Potosí, against this project. And because in 2019 there was a lot of political problems in Bolivia, Mr. Evo Morales, I don't know if you heard in the news, a lot of political instability, problems where we have a new president and so on. So the president of Bolivia, with all the regional pressures and the political problems, canceled the association. So we are talking about third company that was canceled in Bolivia in the last 30 years. Okay, so in 2021, the state company made an international call for direct extraction of lithium in the salt flakes in Bolivia, and eight companies were selected. You can see there from China, US, Russia, and Argentina. In 2022, the evaluation of these 6 companies reached, of these 8 companies, only 6 survived. You can see here from US, China, Russia, and Argentina, and now they are evaluating the process. So this is a brief history of this drama, which is the lithium exploitation here in Bolivia. You know, you can see a lot of problems here in Bolivia. So what went wrong from my perspective? What happened here? From my perspective, the problem is that the public companies and the government officials, everyone wants to get out of poverty fast and without competition. Everybody sees in the lithium industry a way to get out of poverty. Congressmen, politicals, private companies. So what happened here? Private companies, what they want? The monopoly of extraction. No? And the government officials, not everybody, but most of them, they want to support one, especially a specific private company, and they destroy everything that has been done in the past, only to promote the private company that is supporting, in this case, a congressman, for example. So the governance behind the lithium corporation, that includes also analytical persons, theoretical persons, university professors. Everybody wants a piece of this theoretical cake of the lithium. So this is my issue. My hypothesis here is that the problem with lithium in Bolivia is not the resource. It's not a lack of resources. The problem in Bolivia is the lack of governance. Our institutions in Bolivia are very weak. And that's the reason, because the private company always wants a higher rate of return to invest in our country. And a higher rate of return to invest in Bolivia, it implies a monopoly in the commercialization, a monopoly in the extraction. So all non-competitive issues that create a lot of social problems. Many people in Bolivia, regarding the second point, believe that the lithium is like the hydrocarbon sector. This is wrong. It's not the hydrocarbon sector, because the hydrocarbon sector generates energy, the lithium storage energy. So there are different industries here. I mean, the batteries, no? And also the hydrocarbon sector is a different history, because we had a lot of competition. A lot of private companies came to Bolivia: Shell, Enron, Petrobras, Exxon, Total from France. So a lot of more competition. What should we expect? We should expect more problems in the governance, more difficult to invest in Bolivia because these weak institutions. And what we have to say to the population here, that in terms of fiscal revenues, I did some projection here. Lithium is different to natural gas. In a way, natural gas royalties and taxes were very huge in the past. And the people believe in Bolivia that the lithium industry will replace the fiscal revenues from natural gas, which is wrong. Because the royalty in the natural gas sector was about 50%, 50% of the gross revenue. One of the highest in the world, the royalties in the natural gas. And the royalties in the lithium sector are about 3%. So this is because costs are different. I know the economics behind. But the issue is that the lithium will not replace the natural gas fiscal revenues. So if I could say something here, is that any private investor who wants to come to Bolivia to invest in lithium must consider these regional issues, these weak institutions, and be prepared to fight, to be in the middle of the fight between the central government and the regional government. What we have for sure right now are pilot plants, that, as our colleague from the YLB told us, that are promoted by the state lithium company. But I am not very enthusiastic about the lithium development right now. But it is not because the lack of resources. The resource is there. You can see it. The problem is the lack of governance. The problem is our weak institutions. The problem are the political issues, that once you sign the contract with some president, you are not sure if the next president will fulfill the agreement. So this is a typical problem with developing countries, of course. It is not new in Asia, Africa, of course. So this is my perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Medinaceli, for your insightful presentation. So our last guest speaker is Dr. Juan Carlos Zuleta, analyst of lithium economy. Dr. Zuleta will explain about situation and challenges of lithium industrialization in Bolivia.
Thank you very much. I will try to share my screen with you. Okay, can you see it? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Zuleta.
Okay.
Gracias.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the title of my presentation is Situation and Challenges of Lithium Industrialization in Bolivia. The content is divided in two parts. The first 5 points relate to diagnosis of the lithium industry in Bolivia, and the three last points refer to some suggestions to move forward. Okay, when we speak about Bolivia lithium resources, we incline to thinking about the 21 million tons of lithium metal content that has been published since 2017 and 2018, I believe, by the U.S. Geological Survey. And by looking at this number, we tend to think that we actually have the largest reserves of lithium in the world. But the truth is that we actually don't have reserves. We don't have lithium reserves. We only have resources. And when we go into more specific points, we actually have only 2 million tons of measured and indicated resources, and the bulk of the resources are inferred resources. Okay, so I would tend to prefer to use other estimations of resources, like researcher and Fritz in 1991, who estimated 10 million tons of lithium resources. And lastly, the estimation done by Siedland from the University of Freiburg in Germany with 7 million tons. Okay, so I guess when we speak of lithium, we need to specify the difference between resources and reserves. The difference being that reserves have economic viability, whereas resources are only resources identified in a given geographical location with given concentrations of lithium. So this is a very important difference, and many analysts and journalists tend to confuse these terms very easily. So in other words, as of now, there are no lithium reserves in Bolivia, and that's a fact. Okay, so now when we look at the Bolivia's lithium industrialization strategy, we need to refer to what President Evo Morales in a presentation of this industrialization strategy said in October 2010. This idea hasn't changed much since then, although some numbers have moved from one phase to another. It is interesting to see, for instance, that the proposed investment figures for phase 1, 2, and 3. The colleague from YLB also spoke about the fourth phase, but didn't really give us much information about that. So I would just stick to the strategy consisting of 3 phases. The first phase had a proposed investment of $17 million. This was increased by 2 million, and this was planned to be executed between 2011 and 2013. As of now, we are still producing at a pilot plant. I mean, lithium carbonate is being produced from a pilot plant. The industrial plant hasn't been completed, but there are all other things that have happened as well, like some changes in the investment figures. Like, for instance, in the second phase, the proposed investment was 485 million, and this was this increased to almost double. That is 847 million. And also the figures in terms of capacity of production also changed. Like the initial figure for the industrial plant of potassium chloride was 700,000 metric tons, and this was lowered to 350,000 metric tons. The same happened to the lithium plant, which was proposed initially to produce 30,000 metric tons, and this was lowered to 15,000 metric tons. The fact of the matter is that a lot of money has already been spent, and the results are not as encouraging. In order to understand what really happened, it is important to take a look at some important technical figures, like this flow of the concentration phase. In this flow, what we can see is the different solar evaporation ponds that are used in each production line in Salar de Uyuni. So the halide solar evaporation ponds, which are actually 3, what they do is basically concentrate brine to produce sodium chloride in crystals. Okay, those are the first 3 solar ponds. Then we come to sylvinite, which is the 4th, and we precipitate sylvinate crystals in this 4th solar pond. And then we have 2 mixed salts, A and B solar ponds, where we complete to precipitate the raw material that goes to the industrial plant of potassium chloride. Right now, in this potassium chloride industrial plant, we don't produce standard potassium chloride only. We produce different kinds of products which are of lower quality than the standard grade of potassium chloride. Of course, these are being sold in the international market because nevertheless they seem to be good products. But of course, we need to know more why the standard product is being produced at so low quantities. In terms of the lithium, unlike Argentina and Chile, what we use as a raw material for the pilot plant right now and for the industrial plant later on is lithium sulfate crystals, and these are solid materials, whereas in Chile and Argentina, what is being concentrated is actually brine. So brines are transported to the chemical plant where they are refined to obtain the lithium chloride or the lithium carbonate in Atacama and Salar del Hombre Muerto and other salars in Argentina. As the colleague from YLB mentioned, there is the last solar pond, which I would call it remnant brine, because it's not residual brine, and it's not waste brine either, because this brine happens to have a very high concentration of lithium. The colleague from YLB only mentioned that it has high concentrations of boron and magnesium. The fact of the matter is that the remnant brine solar pond contains very interesting lithium concentrations, which ranges between 0.42 and 0.45% of lithium content. Just to give you an idea, of course, we're not comparing the comparison is not strictly correct, but just by comparing with Atacama, this would be about 3 times the concentration of lithium in the natural brine in Atacama. Of course, this is not natural brine, but concentrated brine. Now, another thing that is very important to note in the process of production of lithium carbonate in Bolivia, still at the pilot level, the recovery rate is quite low. I have measured the recovery rate of lithium at this extraction phase, and found out that this was only about 11%. That means that of all the lithium that is contained in the natural brine, only 11% is recovered at the conclusion of the extraction phase. When this number, when the process goes to the chemical plant, we can think of a final recovery rate of about 9%. That means that only 9% of all the lithium that is contained in the original brine is recovered using the present process of production of lithium in Bolivia. These numbers come from official numbers, like the extraction rate of 38 million tons a year of natural brine, and the lithium content would be 600,000 tons of a concentration of 0.07%. The colleague from YLB spoke of 0.09% of concentration of lithium. I don't really know where this number comes from, because this number is the number that can be obtained from the researcher and Fritz research paper, which is probably the most reliable source of information in terms of lithium in Bolivia, even though the publication comes from 1991. So the colleague from YLB also spoke very little about the recovery of lithium from the residual or remnant solar pond. I have brought here some numbers. The Germans propose to recover the lithium contained in this solar pond, and the numbers of recovery rates could have risen to 30.45% at the extraction phase, and about 25% in the processing phase. So if the venture with the Germans could have gone forward, we would have increased the total efficiency rate to about 34%. The problem with this contract with the Germans was that they didn't want to pay any royalties to Potosi. There was no transfer of technology. The investment was very small, and so on and so forth. This is not the occasion to discuss about that. Let me refer rapidly to the direct lithium extraction international tender. In the context of this tender, which was launched in April 2021 for the evaluation of the Bolivian brines with DLE technologies carried out by the government, initial and intermediate plan samples have been handed over to 7 international companies. That was in November 2021. This is the detail of the samples that were handed over to 7 companies that were classified up to November 2021. These were CITIC from China, CATL from China, Fusion Enertech from China, TBA Group from China, Uranium Group from Russia, LIDAC from the US, and Tech Petrol from Argentina. In this list is not Energy X, which is a US company that was later on eliminated from the tender. But I have brought this table to discuss a very important issue here, because interestingly enough, while we handed over 2 different kinds of brines, initial and intermediate. By initial, I mean brines that come from the wells, or the that are in Salar de Uyuni. That means that these are not treated brines. Intermediate would be brines collected from some part or stage of the current process of production of lithium carbonate and potassium chloride in Salar de Uyuni. So as you can see, only 4 companies required intermediate brines. That means that they require these samples because they were interested in proposing some kind of process of production using the current infrastructure, that is the current solar plants that have already been built. Another important aspect here is that Tech Petrol, which was later on eliminated from the tender, was the company that required the largest amount of brine, 105 cubic meters of brine. Now, let me refer to this diagram where I would like to explain what would happen if we could utilize DLE technology in certain stage of the current process of production of lithium, or the current process of extraction of lithium, I would say. Interestingly enough, the stage that would be probably the best stage to use DLE in using the current infrastructure already built would be at the end of the mixed salts solar pond, which is the stage of the extraction process where the concentration of lithium is the highest. That is 0.57 in the brine. If we could use DLE at this stage, at the end of this stage, one of the companies that was eliminated from the tender suggested that the recovery rate could rise to 57% at the extraction phase of the process with DLE technology, and could end at 51% of efficiency rate, considering 90% of efficiency in the chemical plant. This would raise the final result from 15,000 tons of lithium carbonate to 72 192 tons of lithium carbonate, and the total efficiency rate could be 51%. So this hybrid model could be an interesting option, but unfortunately, we don't know whether the 6 companies that have been selected by the government have this technology to advance this kind of solution to Bolivia. Another thing I would like to talk is the difference between value-added generation and industrialization. The importance of this difference lies in the fact that most politicians tend to think that the development of a lithium industry is industrialization, and that's not correct. Although industrialization always implies value-added generation, the reason does not proceed the other way around. That means that, we can have value-added projects, which are not projects that go to the industrialization of refined raw materials. Industrialization is the transformation of refined raw materials into different intermediate or final goods. Now, as for the roadmap that we could think of in terms of 4 different models, for instance, the first model, produce lithium carbonate only with solar evaporation ponds. If we look at the design report that was prepared by the German company KU Tech, we could actually get all these byproducts: gypsum or calcium sulfate, magnesium hydroxide, magnesium bisphosphonates, and Glauber salt. All these things could be obtained from the process of production of lithium carbonate that is being installed in the industrial plant that's being built in Salar de Uyuni right now. The government hasn't really discussed about these possibilities, which are, as I said, contained in the report elaborated by that German company. Now, in terms of producing lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide from remnant brine, we could also obtain all these byproducts from the production of lithium carbonate, plus more magnesium hydroxide, which would be a byproduct from the production of lithium hydroxide from remnant brine. Now, in terms of the hybrid model that I discussed a little while ago, what we could get is in the immediate value-added projects, lithium hydroxide monohydrate, potassium sulfate, metallic sodium, and boric acid. By the way, boric acid is a standard product that's obtained in different lithium operations, but for some reason in Bolivia has been completely ignored. I have some hypotheses as to why that could be the case, but this is not the occasion to discuss that. In terms of other projects to generate lithium added value-added projects, what we could get is different magnesium compounds and boron compounds in this hybrid model. The hybrid model is, in fact, the only model that's actually in production when talking about DLE. Many people think that DLE is a technique that has already been developed and is being used for production of lithium compounds in different parts of the world. The fact of the matter is that DLE is only used in a hybrid model, that is using solar evaporation plants, particularly in China and in Argentina. There are some projects that are being developed in its pure form. One is in Cachi, Argentina, by Lake Resources, an Australian company, with the help of Lilac, which is one of the companies that was selected in the Bolivian tender. And another one is Standard Lithium in Arkansas, the US, the United States. But in neither of these cases, we have concrete results to discuss about. In terms of pure DLE, one important thing is that the most developed techniques in the DLE space basically extract the lithium from the brine and re-inject the rest of the brine into the salar. This could be not a very good thing to do in a salar like Salar de Uyuni, which is not well known for the diversity of elements, chemical elements that are contained in the brines. And that's why I believe that when talking about a roadmap of lithium development and value-added generation, DLE technologies to be applied to natural and or concentrated natural brine should place emphasis on the extraction of all commercially exploitable elements contained in brines. That is not only lithium, but also magnesium, sodium, boron, potassium, calcium, rubidium, strontium, cesium, chloride, and bromide, as well as on the generation of fresh water as a byproduct, because this is probably one of the most criticized problems in the application of solar panels to obtain lithium. There are many studies that suggest that even though brines are not equivalent to fresh water, they tend to produce different kinds of disequilibria in the hydrogeological space. Lastly, I would like to discuss a little bit about the key factors for the industrialization of lithium in Bolivia. To begin with, we need not only lithium, but also other critical materials and other critical minerals. My colleague from YLB talked about nickel, but forgot to talk about cobalt and other materials that are needed for NMC lithium-ion batteries. But of course, there are alternatives to NMC, and I have suggested, for instance, LFP, LNMO, which doesn't use cobalt. And another interesting option would be to start thinking of producing sodium-ion batteries. Actually, CATL, which is also in the list of selected companies to use DLE technologies in Bolivia, has recently announced that it will soon launch this kind of batteries and for the market. So the interesting thing about sodium-ion batteries is that they are much cheaper than lithium-ion. Of course, there are problems with the energy density of these batteries, but they could find some uses in the currently growing lithium-ion battery market. To industrialize, we not only need lithium and other critical minerals, we need human resources, but these have to be qualified human resources. And in order to obtain qualified human resources, we require transformation of national education system and a scientific technological revolution. The kind of revolution that our friend from South Korea was talking about in the first presentation. We also need technological development. And of course, we need to ask ourselves how to face the challenge of lithium industrialization under financial restraint. I don't think mortgaging strategic resources would be a good idea. Like the path that seems that the government, the current government, seems to follow when establishing deals with the 6 companies that were selected by the government. They are planning to engage in a contract whereby the companies would finance the whole operation. For instance, a pure DLE project, which would cost around $900 million, and the repayment would be with the products to be produced. I don't think that's the best way to move forward. So I disagree with that kind of suggestion that the government has put forward in the last 3 or 4 months. And another important thing is the legal and regulatory framework. And maybe here we could also add the institutional part of the problem, which Mauricio was talking about, which I believe would be very important to analyze, because it's not only a problem of having the correct or right laws, or the correct or right regulatory framework. We also need to develop institutionally. We need to put forward the rules that are required in order to develop this important industry. Lastly, I have suggested since 2019 another opportunity to create a lithium battery and EV hub in South America. The interesting thing about this idea is that in my research, I have found that we need 31 strategic elements to produce next generation EVs. And these are clearly mentioned in this table. And there are 4 material areas in the production of EVs. The first is lithium-sodium batteries, okay, because the batteries are part of the EVs. Another important area is lightweighting. So it is important for the EV to be light, because the batteries tend to be heavy. The third is cabling, electric connections and electronics. Not too many people think that the chemical element that will be most used in an EV, that is already been most used in an EV, is copper. And finally, the fourth area is permanent magnets in the electric motors. And these are basically rare earths, which are difficult to refine. Actually, China has not only the monopoly of rare earths in terms of extraction, but also in the processing of rare earths. Now, where can these elements be found? All those critical elements and minerals are available in abundance in 5 countries in South America: Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, and Peru. Some of them have established supply chains which only need to be reinforced. Others require support for their development and consolidation. However, lithium and other natural resources are necessary but not sufficient to develop a lithium battery and an EV hub in the region. Human, as I already said, and financial resources, together with market potential, technological development, and a legal regulatory framework are also required. Now, specifically, the creation of the hub will require participation of companies. This is a model based on companies, not necessarily in governments, from countries with all the strategic minerals described above. That is Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, and Peru. These 5 countries have all the elements and minerals that are required to produce next generation EVs. With some assemblage capacity of energy storage and automotive technologies, for instance, Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia, these are the only countries that produce cars and vehicles in South America. And with cutting-edge technologies for the production of lithium batteries and EVs for the Latin American and North American markets. What I'm suggesting here is that companies from these 6 countries in South America constitute the basis for producing all these 31 important and critical materials. And then they engage in strategic associations with companies from the US, South Korea, Japan, and Germany. Here I have developed the concept of natural market. We believe that the USA should look south because it's in their interest to look south because all the necessary and critical materials that they require to develop their electromobility industry are in the south, are in South America. Of course, South Korea would also be interested in having this kind of strategic associations with countries that go beyond the borders of the lithium triangle. In other words, what I am suggesting is that industrialization of lithium requires to go beyond the national borders of Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile, and even beyond the borders of the lithium triangle as such, including companies from other South American countries. And of course, not only that, but also to pursue associations, strategic ones, with companies coming from these important countries: USA, South Korea, Japan, and Germany. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Giulietta. Now I would like to move on to the question and answer session. Due to time constraints, I will take only 2 questions from the second session. So are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Ochoa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So right now I'm a freshman in university and I'm a business major. So I think the lithium industrialization seems like a very economic shaping topic to me. But of course, there are so many things to consider about this too. So as a student, my question is, despite the limitations that you've all mentioned before, right now, what do you think is the best solution to the industrialization of lithium in Bolivia, and how could South Korea help to make this happen?
Thank you very much for your question, Ochoa. Well, we're gonna have the answer of this question after second question. So, is there any question? If there is not, we're going to have the answer of the first question from Ms. Ochoa.
Yeah, I would like to answer this question, if I may. My suggestion would be to industrialize lithium with the clear suggestions that I have put forward. For instance, we could start developing the kinds of batteries for which we have all the materials, like LNMO, LFP, and sodium. Why not sodium? And also we could try to process magnesium. Magnesium is the lightest element, the lightest structural elements on Earth. It is lighter, 77% lighter than steel, and 33% lighter than aluminum. So there are many things we can do, but in order for us to industrialize lithium, we need to go beyond our national borders. We need to engage in a strategic alliance with companies from at least the other 5 different countries in South America in order to engage into a further alliance with companies from countries that possess the technologies to produce cutting-edge lithium-ion batteries and electric vehicles.
Yes, thank you for your answer, Dr. Julieta. And yes, Mr. Medinaceli.
Thank you very much, Brigitte. I am an economist, and from my perspective, the problem is not a technical problem. Again, the problem is not a technical problem, because the technical issues are already in the world, already developed, and everything. It's not a problem to buy technology. The problem in Bolivia is a political problem, then it's an economic problem, and then it's a technical problem. So maybe the government of Korea can help, if they want, to build some capacity inside the political people, I don't know, maybe the congressmen, explaining how you deal with this in the future, because these political issues are not new in Bolivia. Always we have some struggle around the countries in the world with the political issues. As I mentioned in my presentation, the problem with the lithium is that everybody wants to be rich very fast and very quick. Congressmen, private companies, university professors, everybody wants a piece of this cake. And nobody wants to invest in the medium and long term. Everyone wants to to create, everybody wants to be a genius in this matter. We need now a political agreement in Bolivia, and then the private companies will do the work. The issue is not a technical or technological issue. The issue is how to develop the institutions, how to power the political institutions in Bolivia. Our problem are the weak institutions, the huge corruption. It is not only in this government, or the corruption in Bolivia started since 200 years ago. Okay, so how can we deal with the corruption? This is a major challenge. And Brigitte, if I recommend you a good book, is Why Nations Fail, from Professor Darren Acemoglu. This is a good illustration of what happened in Bolivia. Thank you.
Yes, we have another question from Mr. Bruno Kim.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. And I have various questions at the same time. First, I want to ask about the strategic partners of YLB. If you have present strategic partners at this moment, and if you don't, do you have any plan to open the tender to international companies or government agencies? So I'm interested in that themes. Another question is about technology, and you are emphasizing so much, three speakers, emphasizing so much about the DLE technology. So if you are expecting that the profitability of lithium extraction in Bolivia is difficult to achieve without DLE technology. So that's the question.
Thank you very much for that question. Well, the first question, we're gonna have the answer from Mr. Rudy Medina, and the second question will have the answer from Dr. Juleta and Mr. Mauricio Medina.
Okay, well, about the partners that YLB is having. So we have prepared, as Dr. Zuleta mentioned, we have 6 companies that have classified a selection process based on the technology that they can offer that has been proved on our brand, right? And all of these companies have they have some advantages and also some disadvantages. DLE is a very wide technology. It's like a group of technologies. For example, there is some materials that are called adsorbents and that are based on aluminum. This is the most common of adsorbent that is used to capture lithium and to separate it from magnesium. Also, there is some other that are related to the manganese and also titanium, like the LTO and also the LMO that are used for batteries. So they also can be used to capture lithium. And also there is the membrane technologies and also electrodialysis. Membrane technology is a technology that needs a concentrated brine. As Dr. Zuleta mentioned, it requires to use high concentration brine, so it has to be taken from an intermediate stage in the solar evaporation ponds. But that's the main difficulty of this technology. Because of the high concentration of the brine, it has some problems with the crystallization. And so it doesn't give us any advantage of the solar evaporation ponds, because at the beginning of the stage, as the time is passing, the brine is evaporating, right? So one of the advantages of the DLE is that the time for the lithium extraction is very short compared to the evaporation solar ponds. But with using an intermediate stage, it doesn't take us less time. So it also includes the delay that it's that comes from the technology of solar evaporation ponds. So, right, as this is one of the cases, that's why it's not very suitable to use an intermediate stage, right? That's one of the problems. Also, the other materials well, Dr. Zuleta said that most of the countries are using an hybrid system to extract lithium, but that's not true. For example, in the salar of Qinghai in China, in 2012, they are using the aluminum-based material absorbent to separate lithium from magnesium, and they are dealing with high magnesium-lithium ratio. We are talking about 300, and compared with that, Bolivia in the unisalar has a ratio of magnesium-lithium only 20. That's not a big problem. So there is a variety of technologies that they can offer, and they are mainly working with the aluminum, which has been proven to be the best choice. But there is another problem with the water consumption, which is really high for this kind of process. So we are talking about using high quantities of water in a very dry zone. So it's a big deal. So we're trying to minimize the environmental impact that this technology, this new implementation can cause in our extractions. So from these 6 partners, we have evaluated different categories and have been proving the technology with our brine and have measured the advantages and disadvantages of that. And based on that, we have established some criteria so we can start working with them. But it's not like it's definitely so we are doing it surely. No, we need to study further these options. Right now, we have 6 companies that have technology that they have proven that it's environmentally friendly, has a high yield, has an stability, and can improve our systems. But the answer is not that easy. I think it depends. For the unisalar, it's one case. For the Koi Pasa salar, it's another case. And Pastos Grandes, every salar has its own nature, so it's very different from one salt flat to another. So I think it depends. So this society that we are creating with all these companies, it need to be further studied. That should be my answer, I think.
Thank you.
May I add a couple of things? In terms of what Mauricio was saying, that it is not a technical problem, my answer is that it is a technical problem as well. We Bolivians tend to believe that we have the best natural resources in the world, and that's not true. Because, for instance, our brines contain much less lithium than the brines in Chile and in Argentina, and that's a fact. Besides, the natural conditions in Salar de Uyuni are much different and disadvantageous in regard to the conditions in Chile and Argentina. We don't have the highest solar evaporation rates in the world. Atacama does have the highest rates of solar evaporation. In Salar de Uyuni, it rains at least 4 months during the year. In Atacama, it doesn't rain at all. Okay, so those are very clear advantages. And we tend to believe that we are the richest country in the world, and that's not true. So there are many technical issues that need to be taken care of in order to develop the lithium industry in Bolivia, to begin with. Now, in terms of what the colleague from YLB was saying, that DLE is proven technology. It's not true at all. It's not proven technology. It needs to be developed in accordance with the conditions of the different salars. So it is not true that the 6 companies that have been selected will be able to apply DLE technologies right away in order to produce huge amounts of lithium beginning 2025. That's not true. I mean, we need to be clear and sincere. We need to say the kinds of things that people want to hear. I mean, the true things that are going to occur. So of course, aluminum is the most used technology for the absorption, the selective absorption technique, which has been developed by FMC and Livent, now called Livent, in Argentina, and other operations in China. But pure DLE is very difficult to find right now on an industrial scale. So if YLB believes that with these 6 companies, which, by the way, are not really the best companies to produce DLE, or to produce lithium compounds with DLE technologies, because, I mean, for instance, CATL is a huge battery company, but doesn't have any expertise in extraction of lithium. Okay, the company that is associated with CATL, which is a Chinese company as well, doesn't have any expertise to produce lithium at all either. So what are we talking about here? I mean, how have these companies been selected? Those are the questions that we need to, that need to be answered. And YLB has not answered these questions as yet. And people in Bolivia are waiting for those answers.
Okay, just to make a little calm down, let me clarify my question a little more. I was asking, my point was in a sense of profitability or commercial sense. I'm in Chile, and my office in Chile. We have Atacama Solar here, as you mentioned, Doctor. And I know that in Atacama, there are few, what can I say, rainy season. They don't have rain. They don't have water from sky. So it's very good circumstance to dry this solar. And as far as I know, Bolivia is not exactly the same ambient as in Chile, which has rainy season and dry season also. So I was wondering if you guys are considering, or your idea is to develop DLE technology to make the profitability of the project. So that was my point. And if I want to just ask about yes or no.
Okay. Well, yes, I have been working in the direction of batteries and electrochemistry. So I also be working in the research and development team in YLB, and I'm part of the scholarships that the government has been given. So I'm part of those, students. And well, 2 years ago, I started to develop the DLE technology using aluminum, and I studied and synthesized the material, and I tried to laboratory scale. So I know that the current conditions that the unisolars has right now are not the same. And I think it's associated with rainfall, as you said, and also with the temperature. Well, most of people think that the fluvial precipitation is what's causing the slowdown of the evaporation. But the most important part is the temperature. In Atacama, we have a temperature above 30 Celsius degrees, right? And I think for most of the year, it has this high temperature. But in the unisolar, we have a high evaporation temperature during the summer. But during the winter, we can reach like minus 20 Celsius degrees, which is a very freezing temperature. That's why it slows the evaporation. During the winter, we have solar radiation, but the temperature of the ground is so low, and the temperature is so low in all the soil flat that it's not possible to evaporation. The vapor pressure is so low. So that's why we recognize that the DLE is if we want to improve our production, we need to change, or we can parallel lines to extract. So one line can go to evaporation ponds because they are feeding the KCl plants, and we are giving added value to the products of evaporate products that come from the salt, but also we need to improve to boost our production in the lithium carbonate. So we are considering also to go to DLE. And about the criteria that have been used to select these companies, it's based on the yield, the magnesium ratio, magnesium to lithium ratio, and stability of the material. And they have been proven. Well, I think there is a misunderstanding about what's technology in lithium and how long it has been studied. For example, in the hydrocarbon industry, the technologies that they are using are very old. They have more than 100 years of studying, so they are very, very good established. But in the case of lithium and also in the case of brine, it has not been studied completely yet. For example, this case of the aluminum absorbent, it comes from Russia. Medvedev was one of the first that published a paper in the aluminum-based material to absorb lithium, and it was used to absorb lithium from seawater. So it is from the 1986, I think, right? So it's very old. So after 20 years of that first paper, there are a lot of patents from the US, Bulba, and others. And the first pilot plant using this material is in the 2012 in the Qinghai salars. So some of the salars of China who have like really high magnesium to lithium ratio, they are using this material who has been proven to have a high stability. It has a very low capacity of absorption of lithium. So if you compare with the LMO and you compare with the LTO, which has a capacity of 60 to 75 milligrams per gram of absorbent, aluminum only has 6 milligrams per gram of absorbent. So it's very, very little capacity, but the stability of the material is what makes it interesting. The material has like more like 100 cycles and without loss of capacity. So we think that this material is more promising, and we are trying to develop it to an industrial scale. So far, we have developed it to a laboratory scale, and the results that we got from that is what we could say it's our own technology. We have developed it, and we are starting to understand it and also to control it. So it's more than we are not only trying to get a partnership from other companies so they will give us the technology, and we are very sure that the technology will work. It's not the case. We think that we also need to develop our technology. So that's what we have been doing. And also we can learn from other countries that have gone beyond that. So we are very new studying this, but there are other countries. For example, Russia has been studying this since the 1990. So we only started studying this in the 2018. So there is a big gap in difference of experience using this kind of materials. Even they have not been working with brine that comes from salt floods. They have been working with brines that come from seawater and China brine. So they have little experience in this, but the technology is new for everyone in the world. I think there is not one company that has a lot of experience of this, because lithium has only become important recently. It's not a very old industry like the hydrocarbon, and most people think that the technology is already settled, so it can be applied. It's not the case. I agree with Dr. Zuleta that says that the technology, it's a technical problem also. Both parts are right. Also, Dr. Medinaceli said that it's about politics, government, and national factories, everything, and also the technological problem. Both things need to be solved before we can start making added value with lithium carbonate. So one, politics, and also the technological problem, because this hasn't been spoken a lot, because it's most people think that it's already done, but it's still in progress. It hasn't been developed yet. So maybe in 10 years the technology will advance, but we need to get there in some way. So that's why we have been doing. So we are trying to talk with others to say what they are doing with lithium. And so we are developing what we know and understand, so we can start to share some knowledge and start developing that on adapting their technology to our natural brine. I don't know if that's a valid answer to your question, but
Thank you very much. It was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rudy Medina. Well, we had a few more questions, but due to the time constraints, I have to finish this session. Well, thank you so much. Muchas gracias otra vez. Terminemos el seminario 2022, Corea Bolivia, Cooperación para el Futuro. Otra vez, les doy gran agradecimiento a todos los presentadores y las personas que participan en este seminario virtual. Bueno, espero que este seminario ayude a ambos países a seguir desarrollando a través de la cooperación económica. Una vez más, muchísimas gracias a todos por asistir al seminario virtual. Gracias, buenas noches.